What if the measure of your life isn't found in stadiums filled or books published or followers gained, but in a silent, whispered prayer while washing dishes? What if the moments Jesus remembers the most aren't ones that make our highlight reel, but the ones that nobody sees? When you choose patience instead of anger, forgiveness instead of resentment, and faith instead of fear? What if heaven's applause is waiting for the battles that we fight in complete and utter silence? Hey, I'm Adam with Faith Labs, and we do daily devotionals for busy Christians. If you've ever wondered if the small, unseen moments of your faith journey really matter to God, then look, today's video is for you, because by the end of it, you're going to leave with a fresh understanding of what Jesus truly values in your daily faithfulness, freedom from the pressure to perform grand spiritual acts to earn God's approval, and a profound glimpse of what that heavenly, well done moment might actually look like for you. My mother surprised me with a painting recently. It's Jesus embracing a man as he enters heaven's gates. When she gave it to me, it stopped me in my tracks, not just because of the beauty of it, but because it really made me wonder, what will Jesus first say to me when my moment comes? For years, I imagined that conversation would be centered around the big acts of faith in my life, when I could touch the most people, when I had the most influence, like the highlight reel of my spiritual resume, carefully curated for divine approval. But last year, things changed for me. It was one of those days that tests every fiber of your patience. My son had been struggling with homework, my inbox was overflowing with unanswered messages, and my kitchen sink decided today was the day that it was going to spring a leak from that little sprayer thing. By evening, my nerves were frayed like an old rope that was about to snap. That's when my daughter appeared at my office door, eyes wide with excitement, clutching her science project that was due tomorrow, the one that she had forgotten to mention needed parental help. I felt that familiar heat rising in my chest, the words of frustration forming on my tongue, ready to go. But something stopped me. In that razor-thin moment between reaction and response, I breathed a desperate prayer. Lord, help me be who she needs right now, not who I feel like being. What followed wasn't extraordinary by anyone's standards. We built a little solar system thing from styrofoam balls and wire hangers, but we talked about creativity, thought, love. We glued things, we taped things, we had fun. No one was watching. No one ever knew. This wasn't going to make my spiritual autobiography, but as I tucked her in that night, her whispered, "Thanks, Dada Man," felt holy somehow, sacred, like I had passed a test that actually mattered. And that's when it hit me, staring at my mother's painting later that night. What if these are the moments that Jesus will mention first? Not the speech that received a standing ovation, but the patience I found when I had none left to give. In Matthew 25, Jesus tells us the parable of the talents, a story about servants entrusted with their master's wealth while he's away. When the master returns to the faithful servants, he says these beautiful words, quote, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your master," end quote. But notice something crucial here. What earned the master's praise wasn't the servants' spectacular achievements, but their faithfulness with what they'd been given. The master didn't say, "Hey, well done, famous servant," or "Well done, impressive servant." He said, "Well done, faithful servant." Our culture trains us to believe that bigger is better, that viral moments matter more than quiet consistency. But God's economy of significance runs on a completely different currency altogether. In 1 Corinthians 4:2, Paul writes, quote, "Now it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful," end quote. Not successful by worldly standards, not influential or powerful or perfect, just faithful. When Jesus separates the sheep from the goats later in Matthew 25, what surprises everyone is the basis of his judgment. It's not grand spiritual achievements that he mentions, but moments of simple, even mundane faithfulness. I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. The sheep are shocked. "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you?" They didn't even realize those small acts of faithfulness were cosmically significant. They weren't done for show or spiritual credit. They were just being faithful in the moment. What if Jesus will look at you and say, "Remember that Tuesday when you were absurdly exhausted, but you still took time to listen to your friend's struggles? I was there. Remember when you fought that same temptation for the 100th time and no one knew about it? I saw your faithfulness." Remember when you chose gratitude in the hospital room when bitterness would have been so much easier? I felt your trust in me. The beautiful thing about the gospel is that while salvation is never earned through our works, Jesus still delights and rewards in our faithful service, especially the kind that nobody else applauds. Scripture tells us in Hebrews 6:10, quote, God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. End quote. Nothing faithful is forgotten. No act of obedience is overlooked. Our greatest legacy may not be what fills stadiums, but what fills ordinary Tuesday afternoons, the sacred ground of small faithfulness where heaven touches earth through hands that serve, hearts that forgive, and spirits that keep trusting God when nobody's watching. In the eyes of eternity, the dishes washed with thanksgiving may shine brighter than the stages commanded with eloquence. It's not the size of the act, but the size of the faithfulness that catches Jesus' gaze. Friends, as you go about your day, I want to invite you to look at those small moments a little bit differently. That difficult conversation you're dreading, the mundane task that feels meaningless, that quiet choice to trust God one more time. These aren't just passing moments, they're eternal investments. They matter deeply to the one who sees everything. I need your help. Would you share in the comments one small act of faithfulness that you're choosing today? And if this message has resonated with you, please do share it around with your network. It truly does mean the world to me, and it really does help get Christian content out on the algorithms. Let's encourage each other in these beautiful, ordinary ways we're living for an extraordinary God. Hey, I'm Adam with Faith Labs, and until tomorrow, remember, every moment of faithfulness echoes in eternity.